2, 1. And welcome back, everybody, to Double Down with Breslo, where we cover the industry, the sports betting industry, and talk to some of the leaders in that industry. And we've got a very interesting one today, coming to us originally from Manchester, England, via Michigan, and now a U.S. resident. U.S. citizen yet?
Not yet. I'm a Greek.
Almost.
I'm still undecided. I'm still undecided.
All right. Well, we're happy to have you, and we'd love to see you become a citizen. It's Jai Maw. He is the co-founder and president of Betting Hero, located in Michigan, and he's got a very interesting backstory as to how he got here, and we want to hear how he came up with the concept for Betting Hero and what exactly it's up to today. So, Jay, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So Jay came to the U.S. on a soccer scholarship, direct from England to Michigan, and then has stuck around and formed his own company called Betting Hero. So give us the backstory on how you came up with the concept for Betting Hero and when you started it and all that good stuff.
Yeah, of course I will. And I'll try and abbreviate it as well, because it can become a long story. But came to the US, played soccer in college at a school called Davenport University here in Michigan. While I was there, I met my now wife. And as most young college kids do, I was looking for ways to generate some income, especially as an England national. Living in America, working is perhaps not as easy as it could be, especially when you're in college. So I was connected to my now co-founder, who happens to be my wife's uncle, and he basically put me to work on a side business that he was running at the time while I was in college. And that business was an affiliate marketplace for LifeLock, so identity theft protection. And we would basically be just like digital affiliates in the gaming space, promoting LifeLock online through a number of verticals and encouraging people to sign up. That business, while I was still in college, got shut down by the CMO of LifeLock. She came in, she saw what we were doing, and as much as we were adding value, she thought that they might be able to do that themselves, which we actually agreed with, that they probably could. So that business went away, and from that point forward, this was back in 2015, from that point forward, Jeremy and I were always looking for another opportunity to build an affiliate type business within an industry where there was going to be a massive wave of customer adoption. Sports betting was obviously rumored to be legalized, and PASPA was going to be repealed. This was in 2018. He and I came back together at that point and decided that this was the industry that we were going to build our next business within. But this time we were going to do things slightly differently. Whereas previously we built an online business that had a very undefensible moat around it, we wanted to build a business that had a very defensible moat around it. Therefore, we wouldn't face the same fate that we had previously. So we looked at the landscape, we looked at the online affiliate marketplace, we looked at the offline affiliate marketplace, which really didn't exist at the time, and decided that that was where we were going to build the business. Jeremy and I both came from recruiting. He was employee number 24 at Glassdoor.com. I ran an executive search practice in the financial services industry. So we knew that recruiting and sales were going to be a strength of ours. And obviously the technical side of building a digital affiliate was not where our strengths lay. So we decided to build an offline affiliate. And basically what that means is we would guide customers through their onboarding journeys within the sports betting ecosystem in person. So we would have teams of people that meet customers where they are, whether that's in a sports book, a casino, a venue, an arena, a tailgate, at a bar, and be able to then educate those customers through the sign-up journeys of these respective products. And then obviously the idea being that we would leave them in a better educated place than where we found them. Early on, though, what we really realized was that we'd struck gold, because the sign-up journeys on these products were even more complicated than we had previously anticipated that they would be. We used to use this expression, not so much anymore, but we used to use the expression that we thought we were going to be signing people up for Angry Birds, but actually we were signing them up for a mortgage, right? They have to submit their social security number, they've got to link payment, they've got to get through KYC, then they have to actually understand how to use these products. So an enormous educational curve was going to have to be undergone by the customer. and we were in the best position.
And by the way, was that in Michigan in particular or in other states?
No, so when we started, we founded the company in July of 2018, and obviously sports betting was only legal in New Jersey online at the time. So every Friday, and it was a side business for us. So Jeremy was still at Glassdoor. I'd moved on to a company called Gartner by this point, big research and advisory firm. So every Friday afternoon, we would fly to New Jersey. We were the first betting heroes that existed. We put the shirt on of our operator clients. We would be activating their customers at their venues. And then we would fly home on Sunday night back to Michigan. We'd go back to our day jobs in the morning. We'd do all of our client reporting, probably on the plane. And then that was rinse and repeat for about 12 months. So pretty much for 12 months, we lived part-time in Michigan and part-time in New Jersey.
And how were you being compensated?
So this is where the similarities with the affiliate business do come back in. We knew we wanted to be paid based on performance, and therefore we structured all of our commercial deals to be largely structured by CPAs. So we wanted to back into whatever our revenue model would be by aligning ourselves with the interests of the client, which at the time, back in 2018, was really just customer acquisition. Everybody was racing to acquire customers. The CPA model made a ton of sense for us. So we looked and felt like an affiliate, but we just did things slightly differently. Our medium, if you like, to convert customers was just offline instead of being online. So CPA structure, and that has pretty much remained.
CPA stands for what?
Cost per acquisition. So
okay.
Cost per acquisition by customer.
So in other words, one upfront fee.
Correct.
Per customer.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
As opposed to a percentage of all of their bets down the road?
Correct. So in the affiliate world today, you still have a CPA structure that most affiliates will adopt, but then you also have the revenue share opportunity, which many affiliates do adopt, some fully, some partially, most not at all, however. So that would be the alternative fee structure. But in our world, even it's a little different because we have an event capacity as well. So we're, yes, converting customers from retail to digital, we're acquiring them, we're educating them, but we're also serving as brand awareness, we're serving as customer service, as customer support. So there's also in many of our commercial relationships an event-based mechanism, which basically secures our teams to be on site at a certain time.
But going back to the early days of New Jersey, as you point out, the first state in the U.S. to permit it, were you signing contracts with the various operators to basically acquire customers for them, for a fee?
Yep, absolutely. So traditional affiliate style contract would always be in place. But then anytime that an operator wanted to bring us into a location that they either owned or operated, so i.e. a sports book or a casino or a venue that they have a partnership with, there would be an additional layer of contracting, which would be based on those events.
Mm-hmm. And were they hiring a lot of contractors at that time?
To do what we did?
Yeah.
Well, really, we were the first people to do what we did. Most people look at what we do from our live activation business and they think about brand ambassadors. That's the common misconception that's made, is a betting hero have a bunch of brand ambassadors, they send them out and they sign people up. Well, if anybody's ever worked with brand ambassadors, traditional brand ambassadors, that's not going to work very well. Really what we needed to do was build a team of high performing specialists, really product specialists that knew these products inside and out so that we could guide the customer through the many pitfalls that they would face. So when we first started the business, not only was there nobody else doing this, but actually there was nobody on the client side to manage us. We didn't quite fit into the affiliate market. We didn't quite fit into the marketing budget. So we needed to almost invent our own avenue into customer acquisition, which is what we've then done. Fast forward 6 years, we've signed up over 500,000 customers doing this, and almost every single operator now has a live activation strategy as part of their customer acquisition portfolio.
So when you first did it in Jersey, how many companies were you working with?
So we started working with one, and then obviously it's expanded since then. We now work with pretty much all of the major operators. Obviously, each state that gets added, there are new operators that maybe only operate in that state, which opens up the opportunity. But New Jersey has pretty much everybody. So we started with one, we proved the concept, and then it was about replicating the same process or the same concept with the other operators that were around.
So, so you'll be in situations where you could be at a bar and but working on behalf of multiple sports betting companies. So when you're talking to the individual, it's like, hey, which one do you want us to sign you up for, or do you want us to sign you up for all of them?
Yeah, in theory, that can happen, but in practice, it doesn't happen all that often. So when you think about the two portfolios of assets that we have access to, one would be the operator owned. So that's, for example, a sports book that's in a casino that's owned by the brand itself. The other would be a partnership with a team, for example, where there's an operator relationship. In those circumstances, we are white labeled. So we look and feel like the operator. If you went into a casino where our teams are, they would feel like employees of the casino itself. When we activate within the Betting Hero Bar Network or Betting Hero Partnership specifically, that's where we can act like a true affiliate. So we can promote more than one operator at the same time, in theory. But like I said, in theory and in practice, those are two different things. And the reason being is signing up for these accounts, depending on where you are and connectivity and how many technical issues you face, can take anywhere from 5 to 25, 30 minutes. And if you meet a customer in a bar, for example, and you say, hey, I'm gonna need 2 hours of your time to sign you up for 4 of these accounts, the answer is no, all day long. However, there are customers that say, okay, you're Betting Hero, I see that you have multiple operators listed, can I sign up for more than one account? And in that circumstance, obviously the customer can do whatever they want, but typically we will understand which apps the customer may or may not have today, how familiar they are with sports betting, and then be able to prescribe them an operator that might suit what they're looking for. So for example, if there's an offer that's being promoted by an operator to do with a specific sporting event that individual is interested in betting on, then that's obviously a great entry point to that operator and that customer. But it's a case-by-case basis.
So when you guys first got started in New Jersey, what was the first company that you worked with?
So they're no longer around, or they've reformed. So it was William Hill, and then obviously now they've become part of Caesars, who is still a client, and we've worked with them in many iterations. But William Hill was the first client that we worked with from a live activation capacity.
Cool. And so a lot of the guys, they were just out there doing it on their own. You were kind of the first guys to be a third party contractor to do this for a sports betting company in Jersey.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, when we first took the idea to the operators, what we faced was, we don't need you. Why would we need you to convert our own retail traffic? We'll just use our ticket writers to do that, right? We have staff, we have bartenders, we have whomever. They'll convert the customers. Well, what we realized, and what they realized very quickly, is that that isn't the core focus of those individual jobs, and therefore it's very unrealistic to assume that they're going to be able to add that to an existing plate of responsibilities, especially when you layer in how complicated it is to sign up and how much time it takes. So really, and actually this is a good segue, the analogy we used at that point was to do with Blockbusters and Netflix. So if you think back, Blockbusters had how many locations across America? A lot, right? Probably over 1,000, maybe even more than that. And then came along Netflix, or the variations of, in its early iterations. Blockbuster could have built a very similar product to Netflix, but they decided not to, for whatever reason. Critical and fatal error, in my opinion. However, that was the decision that they made. We've got people coming into our brick and mortar footprint. We're not converting them to a digital version of our same product. We saw the operator landscape in sports betting and iCasino very similarly. You have a brick and mortar casino, and you have a digital product. You want to get these customers who like your brand and have a relationship with it onto your digital product before they go to a digital first product, i.e. Blockbuster customer being a Blockbuster Plus customer rather than being a Netflix customer. So that was the analogy we used with the operators, and it must have resonated because they gave us a chance, they gave us a pilot, and pretty quickly, in fact, overnight, we were able to 10x the performance of customer acquisition for our early clients in New Jersey, just based on having the Betting Hero teams there versus not having them there previously.
Cool. And are you still cost per acquisition, or now do you guys do some revenue share models?
Yeah, so primarily cost per acquisition. We are evaluating a few revenue share opportunities at the moment. However, it has to really make sense from all aspects. What I mean by that is, if you're going to do a revenue share deal with an operator, firstly, you have to have full confidence that that operator is going to be around for a long time. They're going to win, because ultimately you're putting you're making a bet on them to win and keep that customer. What we found is that retention of these customers is not very strong at the moment, even for the best operators, and therefore there's some risk to be calculated in that sense. But then also, in addition to that, the consolidation that happens within the industry. We've already seen operators that were here 5 years ago that no longer exist. What happens to those revenue share deals for those affiliates that chose to work that way? So we're very selective, but it also comes down to the operator and where they see the value of customers that we're providing. For example, a revenue share deal may make sense for a less valuable customer on the operator side, but not for a more valuable customer. So it's a balance between how valuable are these customers that you're delivering. And what we found is that the customers that we deliver seem to be quite valuable because the revenue share deals aren't always there for us, which in some cases we would like them to be. So currently, revenue model within our live activation business, primarily driven by CPA, which has always been the goal. That way we're completely aligned with the interests of our clients. Like I mentioned earlier, we do have event models that fold in over the top of those CPA models. And that's really to secure our services, i.e. if your app goes down as an operator, we need to make sure that we can still pay our teams to be on-site providing customer service or branding support. So in those situations, that's where an event fee would kick in.
So how many states have you now expanded into?
So we're active in about 15, but we're licensed and able to be active in over 20, I believe, 22 or 21. But we're active in about 15. We deploy about 400 betting heroes across the country every week. And like I mentioned, we've activated over 500,000 customers since 2018, all doing it this way.
And what is the deal with licensing? Is that only required if you're going to be doing a rev share with them, or are most states requiring it now if you're simply helping them sign up customers?
So most states will require a licensing of some sort, regardless of how you generate revenue. If you're in the space, they want to make sure that you obviously are a reputable company. There are some states that don't require licenses, which I actually think is probably an opportunity for improvement. But in most states, you'll either, as an affiliate, you need a vendor or an affiliate license. And then obviously, if you want to add on the revenue share opportunity, again, depending on the state, you might need an additional layer of licensing. However, not every state is the same in that respect.
Cool. Well, congratulations. It definitely sounds like it's been quite a success so far. We got to take one break for commercials, and when we come back, I want to get some of your insights into where you see the industry going in the U.S.
Perfect.
We're talking to Jai Maw, co-founder and president of Betting Hero on Double Down with Breslo.
We give game day a whole new meaning.
And welcome back, everybody. We are speaking with Jai Maw, the co-founder and president of Betting Hero here on Double Down. Before I get some of your insights and kind of share with us what you see things coming, to kind of put a cap on the story, which is really an amazing story that you're now in 15 states. So primarily in those 15 states, you guys are at what type of venues, would you say?
Yeah, it depends on each state, depending on whether or not there are casino locations that we also activate in. But general rule of thumb is that we will activate inside owned and operated properties, casinos and sportsbooks of the operators themselves, venues and partnerships, so teams and leagues that those operators may have deals with, we will activate those events. And then also our Betting Hero owned assets, which would be Betting Hero Bar Network, relationships with locally owned and operated sports bars, for example, where we know these customers are likely to be consuming sports, and then also partnerships of our own. So smaller golf tournaments, golf clubs specifically, smaller tailgates that are surrounding big ticket events. That's pretty much a general rule of where we would activate in most states.
So usually wherever you are invited in, as compared to, say, the Phoenix Open, which has a ton of people at it.
Yeah.
Would you go to something like the Phoenix Open and just be on your own signing people up, or no? Every venue you're in, you're there with their permission.
Yeah, so yes, the latter is true, but also the former is true. We were at the Phoenix Open, but we were there on behalf of an operator, activating around the big tournament. But with that said, our practice is that we will always have a relationship with whichever venue or arena or operator that we're partnering with. We're not a guerrilla marketing company that just send people out, without license to do so, to convert traffic. Yeah, that's not how we operate.
So there's been a lot of talk in the industry about the cost of acquisition and it being, very expensive, and you've got the big boys all competing with each other and so on, and they're all handing out, $100 free plays or, whatever thing to get people to sign up initially, and they've got problems with people signing up, taking advantage of the promotion and then not playing anymore, etc. And then you've got at some point that you're going to have, market saturation in these places. So in the states that kind of been around for a while now, 3 to 5 years, are you seeing pretty much market saturation there, and you kind of got to move on to the newer states?
Yeah, it's a good question, and actually, surprisingly, potentially, the answer is no. At least in our experiences, I'm sure some market saturation is happening. However, we haven't, take New Jersey, for example, where we've been activating for over 5 years. We're still seeing really strong performance from an activation standpoint. And there's a couple of reasons behind that. One, there are a lot of operators that need customers. But secondly, it's also our role in the ecosystem has evolved from just acquisition, which I mentioned in 2018. It was really only about acquisition. I actually don't believe that acquisition is really the most important metric to measure anymore. Okay, great. Anybody can acquire a customer. Like you mentioned, you give out hundreds of free dollars, although the word free is there's a prohibition on the word, but you're giving away essentially, less risky incentives. Well, any customer is going to take advantage of those if they're motivated to do so. Really, the trick is how do you retain and develop those customers over time? And that's one of the reasons that we've built 2 other verticals within Betting Hero to service those needs. So our live activation business is an acquisition tool. It's probably one of the most effective and efficient within the space. We also obviously help with retaining customers too. When we meet a customer that has an app that they're having an issue with, we have the ability to solve those issues in many cases, or at least direct the customer on how to solve the issue. Okay, you got flagged for KYC, you probably entered in your name or your address slightly incorrectly. You're going to need to submit documentation to the operator to get through that process. There's a case of helping an operator not only acquire a customer but also retain them. We've also built a research division within Betting Hero to service this need exactly, to help operators understand why are their customers making the decisions that they're making, why do they sign up for 5 accounts, use all the free play, and then pick which operator to continue to play with from that point forward. So there's a delicate balance between being a great acquisition partner for an operator, but also being an acquisition, retention, and development partner for an operator.
Mm-hmm. And how do you guys get compensated for helping with retention?
So, if you think about a normal affiliate, that's where the revenue share model would take place, right? A revenue share keeps everyone aligned for the long term of a customer's life cycle. We went about things slightly differently, and we will get to revenue share. I have no question in my mind about that. But what we did instead is we built 2 other verticals within Betting Hero to make us a more informed business, a more valuable partner to our operators rather than just acquisition. So instead, we built a research division that focuses on product testing and consumer analysis. We work hand in hand with the operators to test their products and market to make sure they're working as well as they can. And if you think about that from a retention lens, the better the product works in market and in the wild, the more likely you are to be able to retain a customer. If you sign a customer up on a product that doesn't work the way it's designed to work, or customers can't place their bet or withdraw their money or deposit their money, you haven't even got a chance. So when we think about retention, we think about it from an operator lens, which is let's give you the best chance of being able to retain your customers by understanding them, so we can speak to them for you and provide their feedback to you. We can also test your products to make sure they're working correctly all the time, everywhere, to give you, again, a better chance of retaining those customers. And then we can also give you competitive insights around what types of retention tools are working within the ecosystem of the industry so that you can adopt those as well. So we think about it slightly differently than just how can we retain a customer by, drip feeding them marketing campaigns that every affiliate is trying to do and the operators are all doing themselves. We think about it slightly differently than that. And then from a development standpoint, and this is the newest vertical of Betting Hero, so we're really there's three legs to our stool. Live activation, which is what people best know us for, in-depth research and product testing, which is what I just explained. And then the third leg to the stool, the newest leg to the stool, is really our digital strategy. So this is where we take what we couldn't do 5 years ago and put it into action based on all of the millions of conversations we've had with customers till this point. And what our digital strategy will essentially be is a VIP-like service for bettors to take advantage of to make sure that they have the best experience with their betting journeys as possible. Doesn't matter which operator they bet with, we want to provide to them a VIP-like service that they're going to be able to rely on, regardless if they're playing $10 a week or $100 a week or $1,000 a week. We want that customer to have the same level of experience. And what does that mean? It means providing them with stats and insights about games that they might be interested in betting on. It means providing them with unique or customized promotions that are only available to them or that are available to everybody but they may not know about. And then obviously being able to help them understand how to use these products and be able to get them to a point of maximizing their bankroll. So instead of playing, for example, $100 across 5 books, you might be better positioned playing $500 with 1 book so that you get the best below the line promotions available in your respective category of customer. So it's a 3-pronged approach to those 3 critical challenges: acquisition, which we've been doing for a long time; retention within our research division, which obviously has been a great value add for operators, giving them access to these customers; and then development through our digital strategy, which will be spearheaded by Betting Hero VIP. Again, an extension of what operators are trying to provide to these customers already.
So which company is doing the best at retention right now?
Well, if you read the widely publicized, NGR, GGR reports, it would be safe to assume that FanDuel and DraftKings are doing the best job because they have the largest market share, and that's not just brand new customers signing up. They also happen to probably lead in that space as well. Customer acquisition, they do a good job of, but FanDuel and DraftKings are probably ahead of most when it comes to retaining customers and developing them over time. The question, though, and the important question is, why is that? Is that because they truly have the best experience, or is it because they have a really strong brand that people trust and recognize, and they have a technical product that works all the time? I get asked a lot about innovation in the industry and what's coming next. What's the big next thing? How is somebody going to win this space? And I counsel most of my operator clients, but as well as our team internally and others that I speak to, this industry is not yet ready for wide-scale innovation to happen because we're still in an educational phase for the customer. And if we focus too much on innovation right now, we're going to alienate the customer. They're not going to understand how to use these innovative features and products. So when I think about innovation in the space, it's quite boring, but I think it's what needs to happen. Innovation to me is making sure that your product works 100% of the time, 100% of the time. So when somebody signs up for an account, it should be seamless, as seamless as it is when you sign up for Uber or Lyft or Amazon. When you go onto your account, you shouldn't be facing geolocation errors or funding errors or withdrawal errors or timeout errors when you're trying to place a bet. All of those things contribute to attrition of customers. If a customer opens up an app and it doesn't work, the first thing they're going to do is not call customer service to say, hey, operator, your product's not working. The first thing they're going to do is open up the second app that they have on their phone and bet there instead. So when I think about innovation, I think about fixing the funnel, and that, in my opinion, is acquisition, retention, development. If you fix your product, if you have the best working product that has the lowest downtime and the quickest process through each of these journeys, that operator is going to win. And right now, the data would tell us that FanDuel and DraftKings are winning that race, but there's still time.
What about ongoing promotions as a way to retain customers. I noticed that you know, in California we don't have much legal here, so I signed up for Prize Picks, and
Yeah.
I noticed that seems to be a big thing with them. And you know, Prize Picks, generally speaking, if my understanding is just absolutely kicking ass. But they're definitely always throwing little promos at you.
Yep.
For a brief time when I was in Florida, I was able to sign up for Hard Rock. And signing up, by the way, was super easy, as I recall, for Hard Rock. But I don't think that they were ever kicking me any extra promotions, you know, after I first started it. So I'm just kind of curious if the companies are using that as a means to retain.
Absolutely. And pretty much all the operators are using what we call below the line promotions to retain their customers. Below the line promotions basically means not available to everyone, but based on your play or your activity in terms of retention. So there's a couple of things there. One, operators are certainly using below the line promotions and above the line promotions for existing customers to help re-engage them and retain them. I think that will continue to happen. The challenge for the customer is it's very difficult to know how you get those, because whereas a new welcome offer is public, it's on a billboard, it's on TV, you're hearing about it from a betting hero, whatever it may be, it's public, it's easy to understand, everyone gets the same treatment. Below the line promotions especially are difficult to quantify because it's difficult for the consumer to know what's available. And they're only available if you hit certain criteria at these operators. So for example, with your Prize Picks case study in California, they might be throwing you these promotions periodically because you're playing at a certain level where they want to reward you and keep you coming back. Those same promotions might not be going to every Prize Picks customer. And I don't know. I don't know about this situation specifically. Maybe they are. But in most cases, with most sportsbook operators in most places in America, the customer doesn't really know how to get these promotions, right? So for example, and I used it earlier, but it holds true here. If a customer is playing $100 on DraftKings, $100 on FanDuel, and $100 on insert third operator, BetMGM, for example, each three of those operators may value that $100 differently and reward and incentivize that customer differently based on their play. And let's just, for argument's sake, say that if you're playing $300, $100 on each of those books, you receive $25 in site credit every month, potentially, right? 25 on 300, something like that, as a hypothetical. Well, what happens if you were to play $300, the same $300 on one operator? Does that mean that you now get $100 in site credit to keep coming back? Or do you only get $30? If it's $30, the customer would be incentivized to spread their play across three operators. If it's $100, you might be incentivized to play with one. This is one of the reasons that we're building Betting Hero VIP, is to try and cut through some of this noise for the customer to help them make a more educated decision based on where they put their dollars. And it's really a return to player calculation that needs to be done. So yes, below the line promotions, retention in general is a hot topic, and all operators are doing it in some form or fashion. Some are clearly doing it better than others. But I actually think the bigger miss, or the biggest opportunity, is to educate the customer on what might be available based on their playing habits.
What about just an old-fashioned loyalty program, you know, like the credit cards do, that you earn 1% cash back or whatever, and you earn points that you convert into dollars to play? Is anybody doing that?
Yeah, I mean, we're not seeing it exactly done that way, but you can earn, for example, I know Bet Fanatics have a similar type of setup and structure. You can earn fan cash, essentially, what you can then use to buy jerseys and buy tickets and collectibles and so on and so forth. There are others that might be escaping my mind right now that also do offer a rewards type program where you earn tier credits and points. I mean, the biggest example of this, where I think it's been done extremely well, would be with the BetMGM of the world, for example. You think about the rewards opportunity that they have. If you go to an MGM resort anywhere in the US and you play online, in theory, you should be able to earn the same tier credits regardless of where you play, that you can then use at the restaurants or to book a night at a hotel in one of these places. Now with their Marriott Bonvoy integration, maybe there's a world in which you can use those tier credits to book Marriott stays somewhere else where there's not a casino. So I think there's a massive, massive opportunity, which is why we built our business within this omni-channel vertical, because tying the retail and the digital experiences together, in our opinion, is critical. And whereas FanDuel and DraftKings don't have their own casinos, they are manufacturing retail experiences through their VIP teams that are just as valuable or could be just as valuable. So, for example, you might be a FanDuel customer who plays $500 a week, and you don't have the ability to earn tier credits and stay at a hotel, but you do have the ability to buy tickets to the Super Bowl or to a golf tournament, for example. So there's other ways of doing it in a creative way, and all of these things contribute, in our opinion, towards retention and development over time.
But I'm thinking something as simple as, for every $10 bet, you earn 10 points, and it's just tracking your points, and you can convert your points into dollars to bet. That you don't even necessarily have to turn it into some type of retail.
And again, I don't know for 100% certain whether or not there is somebody doing that right now. So I don't want to say it's not being done, because it might be, or it might be the next step in the roadmap for one of these operators that has a similar type of structure. But I think it's a great idea, and it's a great example of how you can tie, again, retention into an overall strategy beyond just acquisition. And it can bridge a gap between a product that maybe works all the time to one that works 95% of the time. Someone might stick around because they know they've got free play waiting for them.
Last question, we'll let you go. What's the next state you see coming online?
That's a good question. Look, North Carolina just went. I think we'll see a couple of states trickle over into iCasino. So existing sports betting states that might add iCasino to their offering. I heard it's about Illinois potentially doing that, and some others. I hope that happens. I think that's good for the industry. In terms of a big sports betting state that will go, look, there's basically California and Texas left, right? You've got New York that's online, Florida that's online in its own way. I can't see that changing massively from where it is today. California and Texas seem like the obvious massive states that could still happen. I don't know which one will happen first, but I guess I'll throw it out there and say my guess would be Texas goes first. But
and is Hard Rock in Florida a potential customer for you, or because they've got a monopoly, they feel they don't need you guys?
Yeah, look, they're definitely a potential customer. We've had conversations with the group over there, and they're an amazing company, and their product is actually really good. And you mentioned it, your experience signing up was great. They have a really good product. They have an amazing brand. I could absolutely see us forming a great partnership. We haven't activated in Florida yet, but it doesn't mean that we won't in the future. And yeah, it's got to be that perfect marriage between the value that we add from an acquisition, retention, and development standpoint, and the need that they may or may not have to acquire more and more customers over time, and more valuable customers over time.
Yeah. Cool. Well, Jay, appreciate your time. Thanks for coming to the U.S. We hope that you'll stick around a little bit longer and continue to build your company here before you head back to Manchester.
Well, thank you. I'm going to be sticking around for a while yet. We may move back at some point to take the kids and.
Well, you do. Yeah, you do have 4 American kids now, so.
I do. Well, they're dual citizen. Is
that right?
They could go anywhere. But yeah, I love it here. Look, Michigan is great. 6 months out of the year, so I can't complain.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, I'm glad we connected. Jai Maw, co-founder and president of Betting Hero on Double Down with Breslo. Thanks again, Jay, for joining the program. And thank you all for listening and watching. We will be back soon with another great episode. Take care, everyone.